Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hotline League. We are back. We have fully assumed the position, everyone. The positioning has been finished, and we are now out of the positioning phase of the LTA. For those of you that
what was your favorite position of the positioning phase, Travis?
I think it was Lion. What it would be cowgirl Lion. I don't know. Whatever Lion looked like they were about to be a good team, and then they
that was the first 3 games. Yes,
exactly. That was my favorite position of the positioning phase. And now that we've fully assumed the position, we can get into the rest of Split 2. For those of you that don't know, if you haven't been listening to the broadcast and you just tune in every week, we have now completed the first 3 weeks of Split 2, which was officially, seemingly from the broadcast, were referred to as the positioning phase, which is just the weirdest fucking name for something. Even sexual undertones aside, it's just funny. So
you know what I am happy about the positioning phase, every team got to play each other once. We have legitimate tape on every possible matchup going into the group stage, which I think is a legitimate positive. I am happy about that.
It's the full Kama Sutra of the LTA. Okay, Cubby, welcome as my co-host to the show. As always, how are you doing, Cubby?
Doing well, Travis. Excited to dive in and talk about the games and see what the fans who are positioning for calls on our show think about the positioning phase and the positioning of the teams in our LTA North League.
I'm excited to see how they position their takes. Kangas is our guest for the night, joining us as many times. I really appreciate you coming on the show so often. Kangas, how was the 3-day LTA blast for you?
Well, 3-week LTA blast. I was
I know. But this was a super week.
Oh, you're right. Just this past weekend.
I don't know if you know this. This is Monday, and we had games today.
This is Monday, and that I think tells you a little bit of how it went. It was a lot, let me tell you. 3 days in a row broadcast is always a significant when you think about how we have like a story meeting on a Wednesday to plan 2 days, and then when you add a whole other day to that, but then every like Saturday and Sunday night we're also meeting to talk about the next day and like how games went that day to like plan the next show. It is a lot of work. Not to sound like I'm complaining or anything. I love the work and I'm happy to do it, but it's a lot. So at this point my brain's kind of mush, and you know what? I'm happy to be on Hotline League. You're going to get mushy brain Kangas to give honest takes on how the positioning phase went. Happy to be positioned as the guest as well. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. So, yeah, I mean, Cubby, how about you? How's this past week been since we did our last episode?
Busy. I have co-streaming rights for NACL and CLAW, and so I was co-streaming Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I had a broadcast Thursday for NACL, and then this last night for LPL. So I went to bed at 7:30 a.m. after being up for like 21 hours yesterday. LPL schedule is always tough, but good to be busy. Can't complain. Being busy at this point is a privilege. So, yeah.
Well, it's good to chat with you as always, and to hear about what you think of this past weekend. I've been traveling. I got back at 2 a.m. last night. Probably fell asleep around 3 because you get home and it's hard to like immediately pass out. So I thought that I was up late, and then I talked to you just now, and you were up late or early. You were up so late that it became early. So we'll see how
it's rough, man. I will say too, like you can't go to bed right after you wrap up a broadcast. So at least I was able to squeeze in the Last of Us episode, and the thing that happens in the game did happen in that episode. So
spoilers.
What's your cooldown after a cast to like calm the nerves? Because I agree, you can't sleep right afterwards. It's impossible.
Sometimes. So when it was NACL, I actually really liked to run because I would wrap up and like it would still be light out, or I could just hit the elliptical. But I'm not running after I've been up for 21 hours, so it's just kind of like watch a show. I was watching The Pit. I got to swap shows now, so Last of Us. I know I shouted out The Pit in the last episode, but I will again shout out The Pit in this episode. That show is actually fantastic. I highly recommend it.
Well, I think it sounds like all three of us will have mushy brains for this episode, so this will be the mushy brain episode, I guess.
But it's gonna be before we dive in, Travis, do you have any highlights from your travels this past weekend or anything like you really enjoyed?
Oh, yeah. So I think I mentioned in the last episode, but Apollo and I, as well as my buddy Damien, went up to Santa Clara, saw some friends, and played a bunch of Magic at MXP Santa Clara. It was fun because it was Apollo's first Magic event. And while I have been like, friends with Apollo pals throughout the years, people who might remember all the interviews I did with him, I have never been able to really like go on a trip with him or hang out like an extended thing. So it was pretty neat to do that. He's in between stuff right now, like many many LCS refugees. So hopefully he finds something cool soon and figures out, if he's going to do coaching again or if he's going to do something else. I don't know. But that was his first Magic event, so it was fun to play with him. We did a 2HG event, which is like a 2v2 format in Magic, and that was pretty neat. And then a viewer named Dylan, I don't know if he'll watch this because I think he doesn't watch as much League these days, but he gave me a extended art foil Jeweled Lotus from Commander Legends, which is like a signed card it's like $200. He just came up to me and was like, I really liked all the stuff that you and Double Lift used to do, and here's my gift. And I was just like, holy shit, that was crazy. So really shout out to him. It's always neat to meet League folks at these events, and met some others as well. But did all that, was watching some LTA and then catching up today while the games were going. So it's kind of cool to get back and then like still have LTA games happening today to finish out the trip, or finish out the week before Hotline League. So yeah, it's been nice. So
nice. Dude, that's
cool.
so cool. I love getting card game gifts. Again, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. I know it's not the same as Magic, but I've had people give me like Blue Eyes and stuff. It's so cool when like just somebody walks up and is like, hey, I like the work you do. Here's something else that we have in common.
So, okay, Dylan, there's a person named Dylan in the chat right now who's not commented since 2020, who says that the last thing they wrote in the chat was TL would have won with Double Lift. And now here they are 5 years later saying, I'm watching, got the Discord notification, and then Container D gave them a gifted sub. So cool. Shout out to Dylan in the chat for the Jeweled Lotus. That was definitely a highlight of the weekend.
They'd be really ashamed to know that Double Lift's just, competing in Tier 2 now.
Yeah, exactly.
Would that be 2020?
Dylan, well, I'm saying, 2020 was when, I think that was probably when Double Lift went to TSM from him. Yeah, exactly. So that was the drama then. And so 5 years later, Dylan's back.
Welcome back, Dylan.
Meanwhile,
that still was probably the craziest LCS win, was TSM winning that in 2020.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's actually like the wildest split one by a team still.
Dude,
in history.
What's crazy was, okay, so I'm friends with a couple of Magic creators named Zabricus and Anna Margaret, who were at the event. And Apollo and I hung out with them a ton. And they were really fascinated by him as like a former pro player, because like this is not their world, like they're in Magic, right? Which is similar but different. And they just asked so many questions, and hearing Apollo recount basically 10 years of League of Legends history, because he was talking about how like he's not really had like a home for like that entire time, because when you're a pro player, you just kind of have, especially when you're not on like the top teams and you're going to be like a franchise player, like you just have a suitcase sitting next to your bed and you live out of the suitcase, because there's a good chance, especially whenever the teams were flipping players so often, that you just end up on another roster within 4 months. And so hearing him talk about all that stuff while we were hanging out with him over dinner, we were talking about the teams he'd been on, and we pulled up the Team Impulse house tour from 2015, so almost a decade ago, where he and I did this tour of it, and there's like, oh, that's where Zhao is, and like we're going through and seeing the old team houses and all that stuff. It was definitely a walk down memory lane, and just recounting all the drama. Like that was when Zhao got banned for account boosting or elo boosting, and they had to sub in, I think, Gate, and they played in Madison Square Garden the day before like the crazy TSM CLG match, and they lost to Team Liquid. And he's like, yeah, if we had Zhao, we would have won that match. Like it was just very funny because of the fact that we were talking to people who were asking a ton of questions about this, just like go back in time through like ancient League of Legends history. It was just like a really cool weekend overall. So yeah, very simple times. Yes, as Dixie Cup says in the chat. So, all right. Well, let's try to let's try to not get lost in the past and to talk about the crazy games that happened this weekend. Kangas, you just came off the broadcast, so like, what were
I did.
the highlights? I mean, I know that
Dude,
Team Liquid
freaking
lost.
DSG beat
Yeah.
TL. What the hell? Can we
Yeah.
talk about that? What the fuck happened, TL?
I
No
knew
offense, DSG.
I
but,
knew when
like,
I
holy
watched that
shit.
happen that would probably be the big story for tonight. Especially with
Okay.
the APA shaved head thing.
APA shaved head thing was a joke going into it that they did on their own. Shout out to APA. Love you making your own content, spicing up the league, and we were able to hop on that on the broadcast. From the broadcast side, the big story that we were going on and pushing was like, legitimately, there is a line to draw. Not a single bottom 4 team had taken a game off a top 4 team. And the fact that DSG was able to do it, that's huge, dude. That's crazy. I did not expect it to be DSG to be the team to do it.
I mean, this is kind of the fun thing about best of ones, I feel like, is like you just get these moments in a way that you don't in best of threes. And this is not to say best of one versus best of three, best of one's better, but like I think you just have way more of these little upsets that can be really fun for people in a best of one environment. So happy that happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not just them. I mean, obviously LYON was struggling or was doing really well, but then, we talked last week about them, and then they ended up having a really tough schedule and did not win anything. And then Dignitas got their, I think this was Dig's first win as well of Split 2, if I'm not crazy.
Yeah, it's their first win. They beat DSG. They beat DSG also in the best of 3 in Split 1, but in Split 2, this was their first game win. So pretty big for them too. Yeah, and oh my, sorry, Cubby, you go. Yeah,
no one's undefeated.
I will say I think we're looking for a LYON call for sure, because there was a lot of excitement for LYON. So if anyone wants to call in about them, that'd be great, because obviously we did set up, they had a hard schedule coming in, but yeah, they kind of this week.
Everyone's got at least one win and everybody's got at least one loss. So
yeah, true. I would love to talk about LYON, because again, just from excitement side, strength of schedule was really misleading, but they still had some arguably competitive games against the top 4 teams, but they didn't seem super inspiring. So it's tough to know where to place the LYON right now, especially in best of 3s, because in best of 1s, can they adapt, right? Could they have gotten a 2-0 over one of the teams after they dropped that first game? It's a question we don't have the answer to yet.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a take that said they thought Dignitas would be better than LYON. They have a better chance of top 4. And I think my eyes were lying to me. Or someone did it at me, so I'm just
dig through so many games, man.
I'm not surprised. They have to work on it, but
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye on, see if I find that take as well. Actually, Cubby, you wanted to explain how people can call in?
Yeah, if you guys want to call in, discord.gg/Travis. Join. You got to @ me and be in the Discord. I see 2 takes right now that I would actually think about taking if I saw the name in the Discord, because we have to drag you in and then go from there. So we have 2 calls in the waiting room, plenty of time to find some more. And yeah, a lot of fun game topics that we have since everyone's played each other. I know that we'll probably have some takes about the groups. Kangas, do you want to give a slight rundown on the format now that we have our groups?
Yeah, so the positioning phase, as we've been calling it, of course, Travis having some fun with it, us having some fun with it at the end of the week here as well. It was all single round robin best of 1s to create a seed. The point was we didn't really see every team versus each other in Split 1, so give them an opportunity. Everybody face each other once in Split 2, so that way we can properly seed 2 different groups. Whoever takes first seed from positioning phase goes into Group A, second and third go into Group B, 4th and 5th go back into Group A, and so on in a snake draft format. So I don't remember exactly offhand. I think we even got it wrong at the end of broadcast. I wasn't really paying attention because I was doing the cast, and afterward I just watched the interview and then leave. So I don't even remember exactly what the groups were, but we have them decided. You can find it on the Leaguepedia, or I'm sure that we put out on broadcast as well. But I remember there maybe being some confusion about what they actually were. So just go off of, I'm assuming Leaguepedia is correct. If whatever you pull up on there, that should be it.
Yeah, it's, I believe the group is C9, TL, LYON, and Disguised. And then the other group would be FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, SR, and Dig. Shout out to Rody in the chat. Always does good work and
nice
here on the show.
Love Rhodey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, I'm very Emily Rand is in the Pleb Topics chat hyping up Kangas, but not as like a take, because Emily Rand is not in like
just
a
being nice?
call, just being nice. So Emily, if you want to call in, feel free to hop
Dude.
in a channel.
Shout out Emily, by the way. So I got the opportunity this past weekend. I've been doing a lot of play-by-play casting for the broadcast, but there was Jat wasn't able to make it this past weekend, so I instead stepped in as kind of like we don't have an official host, right? But there still is somebody kind of leading the conversation, so that I got to do that for the most part this past weekend. First time doing it, so if anybody has feedback, I would love to hear it. But I had a lot of fun, and Emily is a joy to work with. Oh my God, it's easy to work with Emily.
Yeah.
She knows her stuff. She knows what she wants to say. She has everything planned out. And like, I don't even need to set her up. She's just like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm like, cool. Thumbs up. So Emily, even better feedback for you. You're carrying the show.
Yeah. I don't even know at this point in time if she's like listening to the show or if she's just in the Discord right now. Either way, shout out Emily. And before we get into our calls, I do want to give a shout out to PrizePicks and NZXT. Wonderful partners of the show. We will be shouting them out more. We'll be talking about them more in the show as we progress. But for the time being, I just want to shout them out as sponsors of Hotline League. Fantastic partners to work with. All right. I think that we've chatted for long enough. You want to go grab the first caller, Cubby?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Off goes Cubby to grab that first caller. Shout out to over on YouTube. No one's become a member yet, but they can. But over on Twitch, we have a bunch of people who have subbed. Thank you to Hybrid BDP, Director Donut, 44 months, Notorious Bubble, 44 months, George Zulu, 60 months. That's wild. Thank you so much. bigangryhobo gifted a sub. Let's see. Eater of People, Numigos Rars is actually here. I'm surprised. Containerly D gifted a sub to Dylan. Christabel for 88 months. Tammy TV, JC Miller, Big Angry Hobo gifted 5 subs. Man, lots of love over on Twitch tonight. And Gerd,
Nice.
Thank you for the subs. We've got Leo on the show here. Leo, where are you calling from?
Puyallup, Washington.
From Washington.
Dude, Liam, what's up, dude? How's it going?
Yo, what up, Steve?
Long time no
My
chat.
buddy. I know, man. It's been like a good 3 hours.
Yo, okay, John
miss you,
Cena,
buddy.
Cody Rhodes. Are you happy? Okay, no
Dude, it was
spoilers. No
so
spoilers
bad.
for anybody else hasn't seen. Are you happy?
The match was so bad. Travis Scott,
bad,
get
dude.
out of the WWE. Just terrible.
I don't know what's happening
All
right
right.
now. Leo, well, actually, Kangas, do you want to explain how it is that you know Leo?
Leo is the stats guy, the official, only if I am correct, source of all of our stats. Anytime I'm in a meeting and I'm like, what story do we want to tell? I want to talk about who he core JJ. Let's just throw up stats. And Leo is in that meeting and he says, okay, Kangas, I'll throw up fucking stats for you. So Leo's the GOAT.
Well, what would you like to
Thank you,
talk about
thank
on the
you.
show tonight, Leo?
I have not been impressed with Yeon and Massu this split, and I am on fraud watch with them going into
Wow.
group stage
On both of them.
on both of them.
Okay.
Finally,
So-
somebody speaking the goddamn truth. Let's
The-
go.
Whoa.
You must be a team owner with how much you hate native talent. What do you want to talk about
Whoa,
on?
whoa, whoa, whoa.
What do you want? Do you want to elaborate on your Yeon, your Yeon and Massu take?
Sure. They had a pretty good 2024, especially Massu with his Worlds performance against Gen G. So I had pretty high expectations for them coming into this split. Split 1 was pretty for them both, I think. More so Yeon, if I remember correctly. But I thought it was Split 1, new format. I'm not going to think much of it, but so far in Split 2 placement stage, I'm not impressed. I've got some stats here, of course, to back up my statements. So, one of my favorite stats to use, especially for AD carries, is the difference between the damage per minutes of the ADC and their lane opponent. Yeon right now is sitting at negative 81 damage per minute difference, which is 7th in the league, and Massu is at negative 11, which doesn't sound too bad, but that's 5th in the league. With how good their 2024 was, I'm expecting them to be in the top 3 at the very least.
And Leo, may I
Yes.
ask a question? Where's Tomo in that?
Tomo is at -17. He's sick.
Damn it. Okay, never mind. I thought he was positive. Okay, that destroys my whole
I'm
point.
gonna guess that FBI is actually pretty high up on that. Just 'cause their team
FBI
plays clear.
is second. The first is Sven with 135.
Yeah.
Dude, Sven's been playing
Okay,
crazy.
I will say I think that part of this, we only have 8 games. Part of this for sure I gotta like think about style. So for me, like Massu being -11 actually isn't as bad, just given that a lot of the times he's left alone in the lane phase. And Sven being that high makes sense to me because I feel like he's played a lot of Ezreal, who like should be higher damage and should be higher damage differential. Also, I said FBI just because 100 Thieves, buddy your team, and I think FBI has been playing really well. So I don't want to take away from either of them, but also like I have to pair stats with like the eye test, and that's kind of just my gut feeling, right? When you start ripping these off, Yeon's a bit of a surprise to me being that low.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's also important to notice that like teams like FlyQuest will change their play style depending on who they're against. Like when they played 100 Thieves, they played a relatively slow game by their standards, so that can also contribute to Massu having lower damage per minute compared to players like FBI that are gonna go kind of balls to the walls almost all game.
Yeah, not only that, another stat I'll pull up here is damage percent, how much a player contributes to their team's overall damage. Masu's dead last at 25.4%, which is just not what I want to see from a top 380 carry, supposedly.
That doesn't surprise me, actually,
And-
because again, Fly's been like a winning team.
Yeon is last and Massu is 7th.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeon does slightly surprise me because Impact has been mostly playing tanks. And so for me, that's not a great sign. I think that, again, the Massu one, I'm not quite as surprised by, just given how the team plays. And also, I think that damage percentage, if you're on a losing team, it is a lot easier to have a higher damage percentage. Whereas if you are on a winning team, it should be lower, which is why I'm more surprised by Yeon than Massu for this. So yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but I think that part of that comes down to who they're laning with too. Like Usio's leaving lane a lot and not playing Damasu. Core JJ's just messing up, dude. Like Core JJ's, I think under the radar, people aren't talking about it. He's having one of the worst splits he's had in a while. And I don't hear people talking about it. I feel like he's like flashing missing handshakes on Renata. He's like it's just like mispositioning as Alistair and getting caught out. Like I feel like Yeon could be set up better to do better, but he's not. His support's not setting him up for that.
One thing I will say to that is the support proximity to ADCs at 14. Yeon and Massu are 2nd and 3rd, respectively. So the supports are around.
Okay.
But like you said, how effective that support is when they're around could definitely contribute.
How much of Yeon's situation is just like a general underperformance from Team Liquid as a whole? Because I feel like it's always going to be hard for any one player to look and stand out whenever like the team as a whole is slumping. And I feel like everybody on Team Liquid seems to be kind of just like in a really rough spot. Obviously, Umpty has taken the majority of the heat, but I feel like today Impact was not looking too hot at all.
I think Massu's or APA's had a rough split.
Yeah, APA's had a rough spot. Like we're talking about Core JJ looking underperforming. Like it's a weird situation. Then it feels like the whole team is slumping, and so at least in Yeon's situation, it is. I'm not trying to excuse what's going on with him, but I feel like a lot of his stats are not going to look as good when the team is in general is like in a rough spot. And I'm not the stat guy, so you can feel free to elucidate on how like that wouldn't be relevant here with the stats that you're talking about. But yeah,
no, I think you do raise a good point. I mean, you can only do so good when your team's faltering, but with a team that falls into 4th place, as Team Liquid always seems to do, I still generally expect to be 4th in these damage stats. And one last stat I'll bring up is damage per gold, how efficient you are with the gold you're earning. Yeon is at 1.2, which is lower than some top laners. And that's just not good.
I will say, like, again, I can see this statistically, and I do think that Yeon, I felt like today, actually, he had not a great game. But when I watch that team play,
I mean, they
it's
lost to DSG.
yeah. But like also like individually, I feel like he didn't play as well today. But other games or losses that I've seen from TL, it really feels like YON is just the role player in this. And I haven't seen like eye test wise like really egregious moments outside of I feel like today. He got feasted upon by Aatrox in a fight today. Like had a couple moments that I think that he would want back. I still feel like there are other problems on the team that are talked about and probably should be talked about before YON. But I'm more surprised to hear YON's stats on this because I really feel like YON has been the one that has been hyped up more than Massu even, like just given split 1 and split 2. Whereas for me, Massu actually just given the champs that he's picking and the way that Fly's playing, actually where he's at doesn't surprise me very much, even if the numbers aren't as good as where I feel like Massu is in the pool for where he positions at 80. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
Massu last year was hyped, and especially after Worlds, like people were really considering him like a front runner for best ADC in the league. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like if he's not performing at that level, then it is fair to say that he's had a bit of a disappointing sophomore year, I guess is the term.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if that one's disappointing though. Again, I still feel like we don't have a C9 call yet, but for me, like I still feel like FlyQuest on their best day is the team to beat in this league. And the best of one that C9 had against FlyQuest like didn't sell me. So I feel like C9 had a very positive draft in that game. And it was a good game that C9 played very well. And for me, C9 solidified themselves as a top 2 team and a very good team. But I still feel like Fly is the team to beat.
On the opposite side, I've heard Blippo say he thinks they're benefited from best of ones because they're able to get their best drafts more often.
That is part of my that's part of what my argument is.
And so going into best of threes, I'm starting to buy more and more into C9 being the number 1 team in the region just because I think they do legitimately have more looks that they've shown us so far than what FlyQuest has. FlyQuest, I think, performs best when Blippo is on red side and gets counterpick. And that's it. That's when FlyQuest looks good. What else has FlyQuest shown us, if not top lane counterpick?
For me, I think that C9 has actually like played a pretty narrow pool. Like it's been a lot of Ezreal Vi. They've let Loki get creative, but everything else has been like pretty like, hey, we're gonna play like just these handful of champs on stage, right?
Yeah, and now they're getting Bard banned against them every game. So like,
Yeah,
I think they're expanding that though.
In a way, yeah, but also like when these like what happens in games 2, 3s, 4s, and 5s, right? For me, like that's where I think that FlyQuest like this is a team that historically has shown that their pools are deeper. We're getting kind of off topic with this call.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually kind of want to call on this because I feel like this is actually a pretty interesting discussion. But
yeah, I mean, let's kind of bring it back to our ADCs in this situation then. What would you need to see from these two players to feel like they are where they should be for your expectations, Leo? I mean, I know you're a stats guy, so I assume you're going to be like better stats, but anything in particular?
I just want to see a standout carry performance from both of them. I think, from my memory, which admittedly is not great, I haven't really seen a standout carry performance from them this split.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I want to see YON top 4 in at least one damage stat, and Massu he's got 2 top 4 damage stats, but the KDA he's 5th place, not very good. He's dying more often.
How are ADCs like? What do your stats imply about the state of ADCs in the meta right now? Regardless, is there much of a carry?
That'd have to be a deep dive, I think. I'd have to compare to previous years, which I cannot do on the fly.
But that's another conversation. Is I think in general in the meta, I know AD carries are always bitching, but I think right now it's more legitimate that like AD carry is weaker than it was last year or the year before.
Oh no! I still think ADs are really really OP. It's just the difference is that
classic support man.
No, you have like more ADs where they have very different power windows in the games. Like if you're Poke Varus, you run the game for the first like 15, 20 minutes, and then you have other ADs that like could get to 3 items and can overtake afterwards. So I think that because there are like different power windows, you just sometimes you see like ADs have big impact or like be spectators, or vice versa, like have to be spectators until they can even have a big impact in the game. So I still feel like teams are built around ADs, and like the game is still ran like through ADs a lot. The highest.
That's why
level.
Ash is picked every game, right?
Not
every game.
Yeah,
A lot.
We've not seen a lot of Ash this split. But
Really? I feel like we saw her like twice this weekend.
it's been this
only we had a
weekend,
stats
it's kind of
person
been
who
forgotten
could
about.
It's like
tell us how
13%
twice the
pick
damage,
ban rate.
Yeah,
I
this
think.
champion's kind of been forgotten about. It just
Alright.
it gets super
It's Varus.
outranged by like Ezreal, MF, Jhin, Varus are all like super meta.
Yeah,
and Ashe
Varus
hates
and
life.
Ezra are like the top 2 right now, right? And
Yeah.
Callista is like banned
Yeah.
all the time. Okay.
Well, Leo, thank you so much for calling in. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, shout out PrizePicks, shout out NZXT. I want to shout out Cloud9's Portillo. They're leaving Cloud9 after this week. I've loved their social media posts for all these years and really excited to see where he goes. Shout out to my fiance Autumn. I ditched watching stuff with her to call in because Cubby said he'd take the
Dude, you got to get back.
take the
Get
topic.
out of here, man.
I can't. I've got Riot
your
Rumble
call was
practice in 10
pre-ordered?
minutes.
I didn't even know we offered that service.
We are not more important, Leo.
Hey,
Leo,
I think we are.
I appreciate that you
know,
have
how often
agency in
do
your
I get
relationship.
on Hotline League? I'm with her all the time. She can win.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. All right, relationships are built on mutual respect. People should be able to live their own lives, you know.
And she needs to respect that I have my Hotline League time. Like
Exactly.
Happy to have
I
you.
wish more of my viewers were like you. All right, Leo, thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Love
Yes,
you,
yes.
Leo.
Love you too,
Thanks, Leo.
Steve.
Based
Love you
and
too.
true. All right.
Wow.
I think we're ready for our next call. But in
Do
the
it.
meantime, shout
I'm
out
gonna fill my
to
water. I'll be right back.
Liberia over on Twitch, in Little Indian Man 12, Big Angry Hobo, who hit 100 gifted subs this stream. Thank you so much, Big Angry Hobo. Gifted a sub to Cloud9 and also one to Jack. C9 and Jack suddenly show up in my chat the day that they're number 1 in the league at the end of a phase. Hobnobbin, thank you for the 63 months. Good times. Really appreciate everybody for the support. Over on YouTube, we have no members yet this stream, but I know YouTube's going to come through. I believe in them. I always do. I'm stalling for a second because Kangas is going to get his water, but is back with his water. So now I can welcome Elias to the stream. Elias, where are you calling from?
New Zealand.
From New Zealand. That's sick. What do you want to talk about on the show?
My exact take, word for word, is I feel that the LTA has missed the mark on the branding around Disguised. When they revealed Disguised would be entering the league, it gave off the impression it would be content and breathe new life into the league. But what we're really seeing is just a bottom tier team with no narrative around it.
I have so many thoughts on
Okay.
this. I don't know where you want to expand on this at all before I immediately dive in.
Yeah. I think that this team is one of the most uninteresting teams we've ever had in the league. I think that this really shows that the LTA has not. They can't market a team. We've seen bottom tier teams have good marketing around it. You look at Bro in the LCK. You look at some iterations of Dignitas in the past. Teams can have narratives around them, even when they're crap teams. This team, the most interesting player is Castle, and that's only because he's good. And I would say that if all you're doing is marketing a team around being good, but then Toast himself said that they don't even want to be a good team. They just don't want to be last. It's just so uninteresting. Why are you in a competitive league? I don't understand. It feels like you're just shafting a lot of the other teams that paid millions of dollars to be in the league. I don't know. I'm just unhappy with this team.
I
I have a lot of thoughts from like narrative broadcast side, but Travis, if you want to get in and give your thoughts first.
What I'll say is like it is already look, I think it is probably pretty decent that we now have like a promotion relegation element to the LTA. But I always thought it was funny because when people were like, we want promotion relegation, we need promotion relegation, blah 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 blah. this is often what you got. You got a lot of teams
Yep.
who did not have a ton of funding, were not in the league for a while, had to build their brand from scratch. Like, how many people remember Team Dragon Knights or Gravity Gaming or Team 8 or Team
Ghost.
Vulcan? Like, some people might remember some of these folks, but like none of their brands were particularly that interesting. I think maybe Team Vulcan was part of it. Like, LMQ at least had sort of like the whole we're 5 players from China angle, and then like Team Impulse thing. Like they kind of grew over time, but teams generally got promoted into the league. There's like Apex, I think, was one of the teams. I forget if they were in the league or if they were trying to get promoted. But like, when you bring a new team in through promotion, they don't always have a ton of backing, and they don't have a strong brand, and then it takes a while for them to build a brand. And oftentimes, whenever you're going to relegate a team, like they're sort of hesitant to spend a bunch of money building a brand. I'm not excusing Disguise for all this, but I'm just saying, like, one, I'm not surprised by this. Two, I don't think that I blame Riot for this. I think that ultimately Disguised had, like, I don't think, at least in the short time they've been in the league so far, that the Disguise team has fulfilled the promise that a lot of people felt they were given from Disguise in terms of the amount of content they'd be producing, how often it would be coming out, how often Toast would be sort of involved in the team. And he has been. Like, he was there week one. I did an interview with him. People can go find it on the YouTube membership. I don't think I've posted it yet. But like, he's been around, but it's certainly not like the Toast show. And I think part of that probably has to do with the fact that the team has been performing pretty poorly overall. It's difficult to like really hype up a team whenever they're just like showing up and losing over and over again, and also when they get like pushed out of Split 1 so quickly because of the schedule. But yeah. I do think that like it's hard for me to blame Riot for Disguised being unable to become like a captivating team or storyline or brand. So
I mean, the 2 series into a 2-month break sucks. That can't help, right? If you are a bottom team. So I feel like the format didn't help, but also I think that everything else you said with like them not being able to fulfill some of the perceived fan expectations with content is pretty valid. But also when you don't compete for 2 months, it's an oops. I personally would have liked to see more content from their boot camp, which could be pretty cool. So yeah, that's something that like I feel like there are a couple opportunities that could be capitalized on, but I definitely have sympathy for them because it's very clear that they are a team right now where, and you know, speaking from someone that covers the secondary league in NACL, I feel like they could be relegated by 3 teams in that league at the moment, and only 2 teams will even make it to have a chance to like relegate them, right? Because it's them, and then I believe it's 2 teams from NACL, and then 2 teams from the Latin American leagues that are still running in the North. So like that, when you are already halfway through the year and already realize that you are playing for like, you know, your LTA North lives, I can see how, you know, that's a real choice. It's like, hey, is it best if we spend time on this content or best on trying to fix the issues that we have within the team, right? Because those are pretty big.
Yeah, so just for context, their YouTube channel, they've posted 5 videos so far in the last 2 months. So they did like the house tour, which
what's the viewership like?
The house tour, the gaming facility tour. I did not see this. This might be one of the most viewed LTA.
That was fun.
LCS
It was a meme
video.
video.
240K views.
It was a really good video. Love that video. It's
Then
what
the next
inspired
one was,
me to tell us to give them a welcome mat on broadcast, which apparently they don't even use. That's another thing.
Toast and Pobelter react to DSG's first ever LTA match is the next one at 84K views. Then 2 months, we played our most important match of League of Legends, 89K views. Then we get to Team Voice Comms, which like those ones I think all had like Toast kind of being the headliner for it. And then the Voice Comms one got 9.8K. Toast reacts to that's actually a different one. That's one of their other games. So yeah, they haven't really posted anything with the league team in a while. So there's been 4 videos. 3 of them got over 80K views, which, like, quite frankly, I gotta say, for like an LCS team, LTA North team, whatever you want to call it, like that's pretty good.
3 things. If you don't mind me hopping in here, I'm going to monologue for a bit.
Yeah.
3 things. 1, it is not the responsibility of Disguise to save the LTA. So I feel like that was an underlying message there. I'm just going to outright say that. Number 2, I'm not looking at YouTube. I'm looking at social media. Go to FlyQuest.
Do you think
Not to call
YouTube's
any
not
teams,
social
not to
media?
call any social media teams. 309 likes, 190 likes, 142 likes. Cloud9 Kia, 621. 113, 131. Team Liquid, 119, 290, 254. Now let's look up Disguised. Their last couple tweets. 626, 1.7 thousand, 680. That's like minimum triple what the other biggest orgs are getting. I think the Disguise content on social, at least, is hitting their market. And like, people are still celebrating. Whether that's translating to views on LTA Twitch, that's a different thing. That might just be Disguised Toast's co-streams, could be. But the engagement, I think, is there. But what I will say, and what I think that you have a valid point in, is the narrative side on the broadcast. I will admit, I don't think we have had a very solid narrative for them. I would love to fix that going into group stage. That's something that I mean, like, obviously I'm not solely responsible for, but I'll own it that, like, in meetings, I don't think I'm doing a great enough job of advocating for what narratives we could say for them and really pushing those. But the narratives that we had today, I think are definitely going to help. I mean, we've tried
Jerry's
to do
interview
the
was good.
Scary Jerry like collegiate route, and we did a whole featurette on Scary Jerry. That's something that we'd been pushing for a while and finally got a chance to execute on. It's just if I'm being fully honest, it's tough when I don't understand why this roster was put together. I don't understand Disguised roster and what the purpose and goal is. And I haven't done a good enough job of doing like reaching out to the team and figuring that information out, I guess, because like they haven't told me through their gameplay. So maybe that's on me to like do better research in that department. But it's tough to really build a story around a team when I don't get the team. I don't know why this roster was built this way. I don't know. I feel like there's such clear like changes that I would want to make and want to see. It's just confusing that like this is the roster that they came together with.
Yeah. I feel like, so I guess looking back on this take, it's like people think that like they're still liking what Disguise is publishing. It's just that like when their team hits the rift, it's just a really unappealing product right now.
Yeah, Elias, like maybe you can.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin, I don't mean to cut you off, but just so that we can hone in on the take. Elias, I know
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about the viewership of Toast content. Like, do you like their content, and you're saying like it's just not getting communicated well on broadcast, or sort of where are you seeing the disconnect?
So I mean, I'm mainly watching the LTA itself. I'm not watching the content around it too much. And also that kind of content doesn't appeal to me super well. So when I was referring to the broadcast, I'm mainly talking about the broadcast because that's what I watch. It's a biased take. Like, yeah, I accept it. I just have like one question: is what are the narratives internally around DSG, internally in the broadcast? Because I can't see it, but you guys are obviously talking about it internally. Is it they're a last place roster that's trying to not be last? Is it because they're a development roster around Scary Jerry? What is the internal conversation around that?
I'm not going to answer that directly because I don't want to
sure.
out obviously anybody else's information. All I will share is what I feel comfortable sharing about my own perspective. What I bring to the meetings and what the focus is with DSG is it is I hopefully understandably more difficult to talk about a team that is consistently losing and not doing well than it is to talk about the team they're playing against who might have more interesting narratives around where they can find success. That is something that is a default. Now, that's not me trying to defend or anything and say like, oh, there are no DSG narratives or we couldn't do a better job of that. But it is simply easier to default to talking about the team that is perceived to be better, that has players that have more arguably more like positive narratives.
I mean, like if I butt in, it really like it is what does this team have to do to win, and like how far away are they from it, right?
And that's like a tough thing to get past
Yeah.
as a narrative standpoint, is that it doesn't have to be about winning. There's narratives outside of winning, but then you're definitely veering more into that entertainment broadcast style as opposed to a competitive broadcast style, which is a legitimate, that's a big narrative shift. I don't think people understand like the weight of a narrative shift from going from we're a sports league that talks about competition to we are an entertainment product that just talks about entertainment. Like there's a blend obviously, but it's still a big shift.
I mean, I could argue that winning is the most important for that org, like compared to every other org in the LTA too.
They got to defend the spot.
Yeah, they do have to defend the spots. Like in the end, the story has to be about winning at some point, and it really feels like this team is very far from winning. And it's been a while.
Talking about they just won.
Well, yeah.
They just beat TL, yeah.
They're not that far. It just happened, Cubby.
Okay.
But,
yeah. It was a nice win for them today. It was. Yeah.
I hope that again, I don't want that to sound too much like a deflection because I think you do have a point.
Yeah,
like there is still we can do a better job, 100%. It's just tough to like figure that out in the limited time we have to come to draft the stories. And I know that sounds again like more excuses, but that's what I got.
I do have some comments on some other things that were said, like from your comments. Just to start on Travis, I do think some of the more interesting teams in promotion relegation are remembered. I do remember TDK. I do remember Gravity, Coast. These teams were not uninteresting. They still had a brand around them. You know, the classic one is Gravity had the really cool jackets. Gravity
had the jackets. When you said they had a brand around them, I was like, he's gonna say the jackets.
Yeah,
Tell me
of course.
anything about TDK. Tell me anything else about Gravity.
This guy's brand's so much better than all these.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's significantly worse.
How?
I like again. How was TDK's brand better?
They have a better logo. As simple as this, they have a better logo, which I think is
my friend.
It's so surface level.
Logos are so
I'm not a fan for a team because of the logo ever.
Yeah. Like just Toast being associated with this guys, like even if they were doing nothing else, and I'm not saying they should do nothing else, but I'm just saying like Toast just being associated with that team makes them so much more interesting than like Gravity or TDK or most of these other like teams from back in the day. Like I just like at the very least, if you know who Toast is, like you have somebody to like hook onto as like an identifying marker for this. So I don't know.
I disagree, but like I'll just quickly touch on my other points. If that's okay, but then we can wrap up. Yeah. Toast has not done anything for this org. It's disappointing. Again, he started out and then he started losing. It looks like he just kind of checked out in terms of the LTA. In terms of I only watched the broadcast itself. I don't feel that he's been at all in the broadcast. I don't think it's. I expect DSG to save the LTA. That's not my expectation. I expect them to be a team carrying their weight, and they're not. Yeah, that's my quick points.
You know what? I was gonna go on the defensive for Toast. Never mind. Call him out, caller. Let's get Toast versus Ludwig feature match. They have to sub in for a player on one of their teams and then play with their teams. That would be awesome. Let's just get community pressure for that. All right, I can get behind this.
The LTA is like we're not trying to be a competitive league. Fine, but at least get the Ludwig, get Moist, get DSG in a room together and just like see what happens. At least I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Ludwig would do it. From my understanding, that guy loves making content around his team. So yeah, I have faith.
I don't know. I think it is difficult to call out disguised when teams like Shopify exist in the league. Is I guess what I would say. Like I just don't. I think Shopify. I think Dig have less of a brand, even though they've been here forever. Shopify's been here for an extra year. Like Ludwig showed up this past weekend. I don't think other than that he's really done anything. Like I know that Toast has been to the studio. He's done more content with the players. Like I think it is you're doing a disservice to Toast, who I think is far more invested in the team, has done more for the content for his team, and has cared more about it than like Ludwig, who I'm happy he showed up this past weekend, but like is clearly far less invested in the team.
Also like side content. I mean, I think that's something that this guy's like could have done more of. Like I would have liked to see Korean boot camp stuff, like more of that. I enjoy that from teams, but you aren't even interested in like tuning into that content. And I can also say that like from the guest spot and alternatives to Disguised and what kind of brand that they would have brought to the table, like they are still like, there is a reason that Riot picked them as a team. I think that they're like again, there are 3 teams right now for me that like could relegate them tomorrow, and only Near Airport's brand like might arguably be better, and that's only because of what they've done within this game. If you go outside of this game, Disguise's brand is infinitely better than what any of those are able to offer. So, yeah.
And I do wonder how much of it could be recency bias, because it was awesome having Ludwig on the show this weekend. I don't think Toast has been technically like on the show. He has co-streamed from the studio, I want to say twice now, once in Split 1, once this past Split last weekend. We did like a whole baldometer because Raz got to interview him while he was there, and he's like pulling his hair out. But I think maybe some of it could just be recency bias, plus the fact that like Ludwig has actually been on the desk and Toast has not. Would love to have Toast. I don't know how that works. That's not like something that's come up in meetings or like that I've really pushed for. But if Toast is interested in being on the show, I doubt any of us would not want to have him on the show. Like, please come on.
I think they've interviewed him on the broadcast.
Okay,
like
cool.
on stage. I feel like I recall seeing him maybe twice.
Raz interviewed him at his co-stream station last weekend. Yeah.
Okay, so there was that, but I also think, I think they did like a stand. Maybe I'm thinking of back before, but I don't know. I do feel like he's. I don't know. I think. Look, would I like to see more from Disguised? Yes. Do I feel like their roster is confusing and nonsensical and like feels like an old CLG roster where everybody's like, okay, what is this? Yes. I do think that Shopify has done a lot less for the league, and that Ludwig has been a lot less engaged with the team than Toast, and so it's just difficult for me to feel that disappointed in Toast. Yeah.
Maybe their entire brand just relied on beating Dig, and that's why we're bummed.
Yeah, and
a lot
Dig
of trash
still
talk for
exists.
Dig.
Like Dig
They
doesn't.
did. Dude,
I don't-
XU had a personal
actually did,
vendetta.
Elias, what do you like about the Dignitas, or what do you think of when you think of the Dignitas brand? Like when we're talking about brand and all that stuff. Like
I'm a cutie pie, baby. I'm a cutie pie. Like that's what I think of. It's a legacy. It's a legacy.
So
org,
you think of
something...
like 12 years ago.
Yes, I do think of 12. Yes, yeah.
For me, like it's hard to feel like Dig is providing too much to the league when your answer
I'm not saying
12 years
Dig
ago.
isn't providing. I'm saying that DSG is the new one.
Argument.
Yeah.
Elias is not saying, oh, like these other orgs are doing better. He's just talking about DSG. So you and Cubby keep like bringing up other orgs. While I understand what you're doing, that doesn't really feel like it's discrediting the statement. So yeah. Again, everybody could always do more. It just depends on what people are willing to do. And I don't dislike what DSG has done. Sure, it could be, obviously, Toast could be here every weekend co-streaming. He could be tweeting about it constantly. He could be streaming every single game and doing VOD reviews with the players. We would love it if he did that, but what he is doing and what the org is doing, I think is still positive, and I'm happy with.
By the way, Scar is tweeting about DSG wins now and not Dig wins, so,
Sweet.
That too. Yeah.
I mean, I think he has like, I don't want to say
might have
beef,
stock in
but
there,
he's
yeah.
somewhat not.
Who
He's
knows?
not like a fan of Dig, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks so much, Elias, for the call, and I appreciate the back and forth because I think sometimes somebody calls in and they don't. So I appreciate that we were able to chat back and forth on this stuff. Anything you want to shout out here
Appreciate
at
the
the end?
feedback.
I two things. One is I expect more from DSG and Toast because he is the brand of the org. So if you're making yourself the face, I expect more from you. Number two is I'm really looking back at an interview I think 2 years ago with Toast, Jack, and Steve, and Toast was grilling Steve and Jack on how to do more content, or they shouldn't be. I just think it's so funny that he hasn't lived up to his own expectations. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Ooh.
Thanks so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Man had receipts. Damn.
That was good. Honestly, I really enjoyed that. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about NZXT. Okay. This week, it literally just showed up today. I think my apartment or my room is too dark to show it. Actually, that's a kind of a messy couch. I'm not going to show that. But behind me is a completely full sealed box with a brand new PC in it. I'm pretty sure I know what is in it. It might rhyme with Shifty 90. But I am very excited to unbox it. I think I'll hopefully have time to record me unboxing it tomorrow. But NZXT just sent me a new PC, so there's a very good chance that next week we will, when we're saying goodbye to an old friend in Skype, we'll be saying hello to a new friend in my new NZXT PC. So that will be going up on my social media this week. So please stay tuned for that. But thank you. It's like the perfect example of NZXT just hooking me up with top of line computer hardware to be able to produce content for all of you guys and game and stream and do all these kind of fun things. So really appreciate NZXT. You know, I think for a lot of folks, hardware partners are sort of okay, well, here's the logo. Yep, I'm using their stuff. But like for me, my hardware partners have always been very valuable because, you know, whenever you're creating interview content, it's going up on YouTube. Whenever you have to stream all the stuff that the shows that I'm doing and all this type of stuff, it's just like really fantastic to have top of line hardware. So thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. You can check them out if you want to support their support of the show by going to nzxt.co/Travis. That should be, let's see, I'll put it in the chat. I know that I think Numi's traveling right now, but you can, nzxt.co/Travis. There's a link in the description. You can also use code Travis5 to be able to take a look at their products, and we'll have to get that page updated because I'm pretty sure it's showing my current gaming PC, but very soon I will have an even stronger PC that will be cooler and have coolers. Anyway, thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. All right, ready to get into the next call. Cubby, you want to go grab them? Big Angry Hobo, who's been dropping a ton of subs over on Twitch, is now the sole YouTube member for the evening. Thank you so much, Big Angry Hobo, for going over to YouTube and becoming a member of the show, or of the YouTube channel. Really appreciate it. Some exclusive content coming your way. We got Jordan for 71 months. Wafflefoot for 68, Hobnobbin for 63, Jorbin Live, thank you so much. JB, 26 months. EMBW, thank you for the 25 months, and Benjamin for 54. Thank you so much to all of you for the support. Really appreciate it. Grrachie is here. Grrachie, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Seattle, Washington.
Seattle, Washington. And is it pronounced Grrachie?
It's grrachie.
Grrachie. I'm so sorry.
Got it right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because you've got two R's, so it's like grr.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I now understand. Okay, what would you like to talk about on the show?
So my take is I feel like league orgs are currently making the most with what they have, and the reason for it, like the lack of influx of players and fans, is due to Riot's lack of commitment to making like innovative LoL esports content outside of Worlds. So I can't like speak to the LCK or LEC because I don't watch them, but I can speak to the LTA because I feel like I watch so much of it. And I feel like outside of there's just like a lack of social media presence anywhere really outside of like an occasional tweet that goes viral or like a TikTok video that gets like 100,000 views. Like in my ideal world, we'd have like a drive to survive. I don't know if you guys watch Formula One.
You're
Yeah.
definitely not the first
Formula
Drive
One.
to Survive suggester on the show before,
Right.
so it is kind of the
And so,
go-to.
like, it's like my ideal world is like we have one of those and we like actually kind of make like LoL esports into, or like have a section of LoL esports that's kind of dedicated to like reality TV that is more appealing to like a younger audience. I feel like if you watch Drive to Survive, like it makes it seem like players hate each other, and then you like find the YouTube content and players don't actually hate each other, and you're like, oh, this is like interesting. There's like bromance going on between teams and like within teams, and we kind of like don't get that in the LTA. I feel like there's like no like, I don't know. There's no, we never get to see like relationships. And so in turn, we never get to see like these massive like fans of player dynamics, really. Yeah.
So-
That's my take.
In Twitch chat right now, Hexblast is suggesting Pros. Do you feel like Pros is doing any of this for you, the podcast?
I was thinking about pros, but I feel like the podcast format is just not like appealing to that many people. Like if we look at like the LTA
Sorry, you're on a
YouTube
podcast
channel
right now, and you're saying
No,
the
but like,
podcast format
but
is
like,
not appealing.
I'm like,
Travis, your format sucks.
gonna have to disagree with you on this.
Low-key-
No, go ahead.
but okay, but like if you look at like the LTA YouTube channel, it's like pros and the dive and like I don't even know what else. It's just like podcasts. So I'm supposed to like listen to like 2 podcasts every week and somehow develop like a relationship with these players that'll probably I'm not going to say they're going to leave soon, but like it's just like a podcast shouldn't be what like
I
the
get
only
it.
thing
It
there
is like a podcast is very it's not like the interactions on the podcast can be authentic, but it is not necessarily authentic to the way these players live their lives. Like they are not professional content creators. Like in some sense, the three of us, people who just like for a living do talk about League of Legends, sitting on the show right now talking to somebody about League of Legends feels more in line than like pro players where their natural like careers and lives and all that stuff like that involve playing League of Legends, interacting with each other, trying to solve problems and like overcome challenges. So I understand what you mean, which is that like the podcast is not really showing these players in the way that like we think of them. So
Right.
I think that's fair, right? Like the podcast can be cool, but they're not sort of everything. Why do you feel like it's on Riot to create this team content though? Is it not something where like the teams themselves could do that? Because obviously they do at times. I mean, we were just looking at the disguise content.
Right. I just think like when I compare like just like comparing like very basically YouTube channels between like Formula 1 and like the LTA, what I see on the LTA is like 10 million podcasts and like Formula 1 has like race highlights, players reacting to certain like races, players like doing trivia. Like some of my favorite content from you, Travis, is like your trivia videos because they're just like funny and they're just like fun and chill, right? And so like I feel like there should be more content like that. Like I want to see like Secret Santa between teams. Like that would be so fun for me.
That would be
Those
awesome.
are like those would like pop off like on YouTube, I think. And like I don't know, I just feel like there's so much like Riot could do in terms of content with like all teams and how like players from teams are friends with each other. Because like Loki and Saint are like friends, and like you wouldn't really know that based on like the broadcast. All we know is that there's like this rivalry, but like they like hang out with each other, you know? It's like they're like there's bound to be banter. So many players have been on like the same teams and are now on like separate teams, but there's still like some sort of friendship that we never get to see. In any of the content outside of like a podcast that happens like you only ever get to see certain players on the podcast like once per split, and it's just like not enough.
So
Sure.
one of the things I do want to bring up, sorry, just really quickly on that last part. Unlike Drive to Survive and other stuff where there's a lot of moments where all these players are kind of intermingling with each other. I've not watched a ton of Drive to Survive, but like I think that sometimes the corollary to other types of content where you get to see behind the scenes of everybody interacting and like, oh, you go back to people's homes and you see them with their family or you do all this stuff, is that like it is difficult because pro players are really not doing any of that stuff. Like I was talking to Apollo this weekend. It's like I asked him a little bit about like the friend stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of tough when you're a pro player because you're friends maybe with like one of the players on your team when you're living with them or at the office with them or a coach, but then you go and you switch other teams and now you're not really talking to that player ever because you're just never seeing them. Like these guys are not, you know, like every now and then you'll have people that will like keep hanging out or like go out to dinner or something with each other, but for the most part like they're so locked in during the season and they're nerds, so they just don't like
Right.
go out to dinner. You know, maybe Saint and Loki are going out to like Sugarfish and hanging out and all that stuff, but I feel like there's less, like it's less likely than like every now and then they like chat with each other. Cubby, what's up?
But like,
As a Drive to Survive enjoyer, I've watched 6 out of the 7 seasons. I think the biggest things are like this gets brought up a lot. I don't think it's feasible given budget, even if I would love it. I think the biggest thing that people enjoy out of it is that they get all the big figureheads in a room to talk about like what is going on when they always have cameras running. And a lot of the times, because they have cameras and mics running all the time, you still get these like little interactions when like they get together for the team picture, or like the like picture before the start of the year, or they like cover a little bit of off season where you actually do have time to do fun stuff like this, and you do see drivers like on boats and playing paddleball. Or it also helps that these guys are filthy rich, which obviously we don't have in gaming. So that makes it all more fun because you are truly living a life of luxury, like following these guys around, right? Whether you are a team principal or a driver. So I think that's where I think like that's where fans want to see it. I will say that a lot of this does tie back to Riot layoffs. I know that the features team got hollowed out a lot, and like they used to do stuff like the drive or replay files, which is my personal favorite, with Pastry, like revisiting like really cool moments in the history of the LCS. For me, that's where you were able to have features that actually existed for the league itself and not just for the big international events, where Riot Features team always does a really great job of doing this. And I did also have a conversation about this last week where I said that arguing kind of the rebrand, part of why it failed is that Riot didn't put enough marketing money behind it to like actually educate people that, hey, LTA North was going on, and here's like where and why. Because rebrands, you have to go back to the top of the funnel and get people back into the awareness phase.
Before we go into your weekly LTA rebrand marketing rant, I do want to make sure that
but I mean, it does, like, again, like the changes being made, there's less money involved. Like the stuff that used to happen that doesn't anymore, which I agree with grrachie. That's content that I did really look forward to. And I think it is a good point that like Riot has the responsibility to try and grow their league. The money behind it is obviously very different now. And this is a fan that really liked what was going on in the past. The same things aren't doing the same numbers now, which led to the decisions that Riot made, right? But still, like, I want to see more episodes like Massu with the drive. And I don't care what the viewership number is on that. I think that's great content to have for the league. And the onus is not just on the teams to boost up the league. It should be on the league as well. So, yeah.
grrachie, what did you think of the Team Liquid, what happened behind the scenes in Korea video? Did you watch that?
The one where like APA argued
Yes.
with Yeon.
I
thought that was fun. I love when there's drama. I just like I want to see heroes and I want to see anti-heroes in the LTA. And you know, like every year after TSM left the region, I have spun a wheel to decide what player I'm going to root for the year and like what team I'm going to root for the year, because I just like can't find a team to like root for because there's like no story between like anything, but I want to support the league. And so I chose Shaden this year, which is great, I guess. And then I chose Cloud9, and like shout out to Cloud9 because I feel like their content is like really good. Shout out to their like players because I feel like they're like streaming and I feel like more like connected to these players than most other players in the LTA. But like, yeah, it's just like, I love that. Whatever that is.
Somebody just commented in the Twitch chat the CLG wheel, and I just happen to have it right behind me.
It's a piece of LCS history.
This is LCS history right here.
Yeah.
Right. I think we should all be spinning wheels to decide what teams we root for every year, to be honest. It makes it really fun.
It's a fun idea.
Okay. I haven't hopped in because, again, as a member of the broadcast, I don't want to like overshare too much, but all I'll say is my perspective. I 100% agree with you, caller. We can 100% have more content and better content around players interacting with each other. What I am planning to do is get better at pitching my content to the team. Because what I will say is everybody here cares a lot about what they do. They care a lot about telling the stories. But getting certain stories across the board takes a lot of convincing because there's only so many resources to go around. And you really have to convince people that it's a good idea to do something. So what I'm going to try and do is work on my ability to pitch and make sure that I can convince people that some of these stories are the correct thing to put our resources towards, which are very limited. But
And
I agree
Kangas,
with you. I
when
think that's something I want to do.
When you have a brilliant idea and you go pitch it, it's Mark that's saying, no, we don't want to do that, right? That's just
Mark Z specifically has a big red button, and
Yeah.
I get like 5 words out. He just slams that thing.
It's like,
a little like square disappears below me, and I fall into a big slide that goes into a pit with alligators. It's every time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's. I think he's ever since I booted him from Hotline League, he's had a chip on his shoulder. I think, and I know he had a downgrade to the commissioner job, but.
And every time he hits the button, he goes, "Come in!" and slams it, and then
exactly.
I disappear. It's crazy.
All right. Grrachie, it's not the first time we've talked about people wanting more content around the players on the show, and it probably, unfortunately, won't be the last, but I do really appreciate you calling in with it, because I think it is fair that, like, Riot doesn't do very much premium content anymore around the players. Like, I know that you mentioned, like, oh, sometimes they only do this, or like you see some tweets or whatever, but like I do think pros is pretty good. I think like they put out some fun social content where it's like, oh, we talked to this player about this or whatever, and they're putting stuff up on shorts and all that type of stuff. But I agree with you that they're not doing like, hey, we're gonna sit in with this team and like really learn about the players, or we're gonna like do something where we have 2 players go and hang out and like talk about stuff that they used to do together as a team.
The Sven Yeon Shakes episode was great. I know it was like a short thing, but they had some features last year, like stuff like that was great.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, thank you so much, Grrachie. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Shout out to Cloud9. Shout out to my older brother who got me into League all those years ago. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the broadcast. I've been enjoying it this year.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I know you're in Seattle. You're going to go to MSI?
Yes, hopefully, if C9 makes it.
Are you waiting until then to buy tickets?
Okay.
It's a dangerous thing to do. Either way, thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time. All right. We have just 3 more callers to go. Are we going to go grab another person and grab them? Yanya says, wait, MSI is in Seattle? No, it's in Vancouver, which is like you can day trip to Vancouver.
Close.
It's like LA to San Diego. That's so easy. All right. Thank you to Benjamin for the 54 months. I think I got you, but just in case. Either way, thank you everybody who's subbing and such. Really appreciate it. Mark Z needs to outsource content to Travis. Dagmar, I've been telling him that for a long time, but all he says to me is, I'm never letting you anywhere near this campus ever again. And then I show up, and then he doesn't notice me, and I do my interviews, and that's about it. If you're just joining, we're joined right now by Kangas on Hotline League, talking about this past week of League of Legends, and we're heading into the best of 3 group stage part of Split 2, so fun for that. Looks like we've got Emily in the call. Emily, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Culver City, California.
Culver City, California. Did you change your microphone recently? You're much louder than normal, and I appreciate that. That's like good thing, because I
no, but it is very close to my mouth.
Fantastic.
So,
what would you like to talk
everybody
about?
say big fan of Emily in chat right now.
No.
All the randoms can be excited. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I actually have a serious take, because I was talking about this with Jamada on Discord. I only caught the last bit of it, but a lot of people call in with the take of like XYZ will save NA. And I was talking to him about it, and like we were typing at each other. What I wanted to ask all of you is, when would you consider NA saved? Or like, this is not, I'm not being facetious. Like, what would have to happen in order for you to consider NA like quote unquote saved?
When I go back to making enough money from sponsorships associated with my content that I can travel to international events and cover this full time and pay my rent. I think that would be when I'm like, North America is saved.
Of course, the greedy
Nice.
capitalist answer. What can I get out of
I
this?
love paying rent and purchasing food and magic cards, I guess. I should admit.
Really, I hate paying rent. I think we should overthrow all the landlords. I mean, what?
Oh, that's, you know what? I'm down for that. Let's do that.
That's
and
when
save
NA will
LTA.
be
If they
saved,
have-
is whenever we abolish landlords and the 1%. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, to answer your question, Emily, to me, it's hard to not play the comparative game because I look at other regions and I see the type of viewership they get. And I guess I don't pay like that much attention to LEC viewership to know what it's at like currently. But the mental perception is that they just like have more viewers, I guess. So part of me, it's like a competition, right? Getting LTA saved is we are not like the bottom of the barrel in terms of Western viewership at this point. Like I want us to be the top. I want to be the premier Western like English speaking audience and broadcast. That would be my answer, I guess.
I mean, I'm not as ambitious, I think, as Kangas. I don't tend to think about it in terms of other stuff. I do think about it in terms of I think the LTA lacks stability at the moment. Every year there's a sense that things are getting worse. And it's not like things are staying the same, and it's not like things are getting better, but I think the prevailing sentiment from both people within the space and people who watch it is, damn, this year is worse than last year. And that's obviously not the case in every category. Like, I think a lot of people feel like the broadcast is better than it was many years ago, and they feel as though a lot of the tournament structure that Riot has changed and that Mark has introduced and all that stuff is better. But I do think that there's a sense of we're downscaling teams, we're downscaling tier 2, we're downscaling, people are having to go find other jobs and leave the space, and we're worried about like can LTA work now? I think there's a big question about, okay, we've now merged with the Americas, will this work and all this stuff? And so I think if we get to a point where the general sentiment becomes, hey, we're in a healthy spot, like even if it was hanging out at like this level or a little above it, and people start to feel like we can sustain this and next year is like guaranteed, and like people are happy, and like people are able to not worry about losing their jobs, or that the league's not going to go away or go only online or whatever, I think that's when we're in a place where like NA has been saved, because at that point in time a series of changes will have been made that will get us to a point in time where people are like confident about the future of the league. And I think right now, if you talk to a lot of people, fans or people working in the space, and you ask them like, are you confident about the future of the LTA? They'd be like, you get varying answers from to like no. And so I think that's when things will change, is when the perception of the health of the league changes. Cubby, your turn.
Very similar. I was gonna say I talk a lot about ambition. It feels like the ambition for everything going around like just esports and the LTA, it's down, like with less road shows. I was really hyped actually when they adjusted the format that they had for this year, because they actually added more shows and show days, which is huge. I was really excited about that. And yeah, I think that for me, like it's so easy for me as a worker and then as a fan, just be like, oh, things just get narrow. And when I was a fan before I started working in this, right, when I was in college and watching this from season 5 to season 8 and building the program over at Miami of Ohio there, like we always watched like, oh my God, they're doing the Bird's Nest this year. Like, oh my God, like it's growing like this, or obviously selling out Staples Center in season 3 was huge. Are we ever going to get back to those marks? I don't know. But like Riot was very ambitiously spending and trying to make League something that was cultural. And for me, everything that Riot is doing now is to try and get more green in the balance sheet. And I don't think that that is something that is great for fans. And fans have pushed back on that. And a lot of the steps that they've made in order to narrow up the scene that they did make too big when they were trying to like expand ambitiously. So for me, I just want to see like any sort of ambition or any sort of like, hey, we're doing this thing that's new in esports. We're trying to grow. I think it's tough with the player base. I mean, I think that like you could have a caller come in and argue that like, hey, we need League 2 to save it. At this point, we're in the 16th year of a life cycle of a game, and League is in uncharted territory, which I think is really important to keep in mind. Like they were the ones that really pioneered a lot of this at the start, at least on this side of the pond, right? Not going to diminish what Korea has had for a long time with esports, but it's really rare for a game to last this long and still be this big.
Yeah.
Instead of like for 16 years. And I'm not exactly sure how you kind of get that ambition back. Like the only game that some chatters are saying is like CS or StarCraft, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Those
this
are
is
the
a
only
this is a
even ones in the
MOBA, right?
conversation, yeah.
Yeah, like this is a MOBA, and CS has had different versions of their game on different backends
It's
too.
Melee.
So, yeah, it's for me, it's really just about getting ambition back. I know there are a lot of ideas back like in the chat. I don't know how you do that, but this needs to be ambitious. And I think that in Korea, like a lot of the times you hear Arnold from Gen G talking about how kids grow up and they see Chovy and Faker on the side of bus stops. Like that's pretty easy to be ambitious and want to actually achieve that. Whereas here it's, I mean, I've watched in the last 3 years go from like 26 teams be in our ecosystem to 8, and a couple of those being foreign and not guaranteed anymore. And like I've watched now college programs like shutting down too. It's just really tough to be ambitious with what's going on right now. And for me, that's the biggest reason why I feel so much compounding pessimism from the space. And it's hard for me to fight it because I want to be glass half full always. But like if you look at the trend and like what's happening, it hasn't grown in a while. Like adding those extra show days is probably the first time like we've actually added more. And that was a feel good. It's been a while since we had a feel good. So I think that's what I would need in order for this to be different.
Emily,
That makes sense. I think.
Yeah. Curious what you would
Oh, no,
think about this.
I think so. My take kind of aligns a little bit more with Cubby's, right? Where like I'm pretty well aware that it's never going to be what it was, and it's like expansive growth period, right? And I think it is sometimes hard to not look back on that time so fondly because everything did seem so optimistic, and that's just a really nice feeling to be a part of. But I feel like there should be a middle ground in regards to ambitious stuff, right? Like the caller who just called in before was talking about Drive to Survive, which is kind of something that's always brought up as something that League should try that you guys already addressed. And I have my own opinions on like content as well that I won't get into here, but like the scope of doing something like that is incredibly expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing would be trying to find things that fit within pretty much I would say a reasonable budget, because as I guess this is a trend with, I want to say like my past 2 appearances on this show and then the few times I've called in as well, is that I always really harp on the fact that League of Legends esports started as a pure marketing arm and then was told that it's going to go in the direct opposite, where you need to be sustainable on your own. And I don't think either extreme is the way to go, if that makes sense. Like I think it's understandable why you wouldn't want to keep pumping a ton of money, like an exorbitant amount of money, right, into like trying to do all of these insane things for esports while knowing that it is not, you're not going to get the monetary ROI. But I do also think that League of Legends esports remains, even with all the other shit they've done, right? This includes like Riot Music, this includes Arcane, it includes like literally anything else that Riot has ever done. No thing has been as good of a commercial for League of Legends, the game, as League of Legends esports. Like,
Yes.
it just hasn't. Like, I've talked to friends who have been in like the Arcane fandom, and a lot of them, and only one of them ended up playing League of Legends because of it. And only 2 of them, not the same person, played it before. Whereas whenever I talk to people who get into esports, they do always like at least try out the game or try to find friends who play the game. Even if they go away from it, there is a period of time where they're trying out the League of Legends game, and having a complete and utter disconnect and keeping them completely apart, I think, is really obnoxious and just not true, because the biggest commercial for League of Legends the game, and the thing that gets people to play League of Legends the game the most, is still League of Legends esports.
I'd argue too that like that's where the success of like CS and StarCraft in the past, and like, you know, other games that have joined League and lasting for a long time, like esports was a really pivotal part in that, those games being big for a long time too. And I always think back to like League didn't run a ton of ads early on. It like esports was the marketing. Yeah, and like that really changed after Fortnite hit. But yeah, that's again with the kind of on the same page with everything going green to the balance sheet and then going from marketing to that. It's been really tough. So yeah.
Yeah, and the impact of that, like, there are more complex ways to measure it, but I feel like I've had like really long conversations with Kelsey about this actually. But like there are actual like ways to try to find out and put it on a balance sheet, but when push comes to shove, it's not, there's no like hard number or hard correlation that's going to be a slam dunk to explain to people why it should also be a very valuable thing to like put money into in terms of the actual leagues, and not just a spectacle at the end of the year with Worlds.
I think that YouTube, the YouTube commenter, Old Blind Guy, says is very true. Says, true, we need Sabrina Carpenter in League. I think that's, we need to bring her from Fortnite.
That's the next
Sure.
Lux skin, actually.
Emily, do you know she was in
Yeah,
Fortnite?
probably.
Do you know Sabrina Carpenter in Fortnite? I don't know if you know that. It's like a big thing.
I didn't. I don't really pay attention to Fortnite, but if you'd asked me to guess before, like if you'd rephrase the question, been like, is Sabrina Carpenter in Fortnite? I would have guessed yes, because like everyone's in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I logged into Fortnite for the first time in a long time and purchased that. No, I mean, I don't mean to derail us with a joke. I think this is all.
What? Sorry. Anyway,
Gold?
I've been watching hockey.
Nice.
Scored again.
No, it's okay. I'm just doing
Sorry,
my show.
I want the Oilers to
you don't need
lose.
to.
Keep going.
You need to focus on what I'm talking about, Emily. It's completely fine. I know you have other things.
I
you're
was
doing.
very honest with what I was doing with my time tonight, Travis.
Well, it was.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have. I'll mute my mic as I continue watching
No,
and
it's
listening
fine.
to
It's
what
fine.
you're
It's
saying.
fine. It's fine. I'm just kidding. I think we all have sort of have our own definitions of what we're looking for in terms of what we would like the LTA to get to, at least League Esports in North America. I hope that it gets to that place again, and that we start to feel good and that the vibes are good. But I don't know. It's going to take some work, obviously, and I feel like we've been trying for a bit, so hopefully things will get better. Emily, if you can tear yourself away from hockey for just a second, anything you want to shout out here at the end?
I mean, shout out Kangas. I thought he did an amazing job kind of stepping in when we were down Jat this week. So shout out to him. It was a very, very fun week on the desk, and I hope he had a good time. hanging out with us and
Always
being
fun.
a lounger, I guess, not a desker. Sorry.
You and Raz are wild.
Yeah. I think like no one expects it until you actually spend time with us behind the scenes.
Every day that we worked together, I think I saw more and more of it. Like I don't know if I was just convincing you two to get more comfortable or what, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I loved it.
Yeah, we have a good time. So yeah, and then shout out to you and Cubby Travis. Like, I think it's really cool that you're like still doing this show after so much time. I remember the first, like one of the first ever calls was just like this unhinged TSM fan, and I was like, this show is going to be absolutely hilarious going forward. So I think it's really cool and kind of incredible that this is still going on. So yeah.
Thank you so much for the call.
Thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
See y'all.
Hopefully we can
Bye,
have
Emily.
Emily as a guest host for the show in the next couple of weeks. That would be really cool. State of League win. You can watch it every weekend. It's called Pros. It comes out, I think, on Mondays. All right. I think we have time for one more caller, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll do our final call of the night. But yeah.
Cool.
All right. We have over on YouTube, Misha gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Misha. Those people will now get to watch some additional content on the channel. Vote for a monthly video that I do for folks that is exclusive over there. And then Misha sent a $15 super chat, which is awesome. Misha and Big Angry Hobo holding it down for YouTube viewers everywhere. Misha says, serious question, is League popular enough in the Americas to support America's market to support the viewership it has? Games popularity vary by market. Like no one cares about saving COD in EU or CS in China. I mean, historically it has been, and from what I've always heard in recent years, it's like League may have dipped a little bit in North America from like COVID numbers, but the dipping that you were seeing in the esports viewership is not at all correlated with like any kind of player base numbers that we've seen. So, I think in the last couple of years, LTA viewership is maybe like half of what it once was, especially when you're looking at English speaking audience. And I certainly don't think that like League player base in North America has dropped by half in that time.
You know, I do find interesting though, Travis.
What's that?
Is the player base hasn't dropped, but a lot of players have shifted over to like ARAMs or more ARAMs.
I have heard that. Like the ranked pool is getting a lot smaller. People are interfacing with the game in a more casual way. So, and kind of based, honestly. I like ARAM. All right. Big Angry Hobo, what would you like, or remind everyone where you're calling from?
Akron, Ohio.
Ohio. And thanks again for all the subs and support today on this episode and many others. What would you like to talk about?
I've heard the name Big Angry Hobo every episode for like a year, and this is my first time hearing your voice. This is incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Been a long-time supporter of the show.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take pains me to say because I'm a Team Liquid super fan and have been since the Curse days, but I personally think that LYON is the team that has the chance to break into the top 4 the most because they got grouped in with Team Liquid. And I really think the only way that might even be saved is if Spawn comes back.
Oh God, the Spawn not in North America.
This was not a part of the take, but we'll see.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if he can save it. Sorry, but I know LYON hasn't been playing great over the last few weeks. But I still think, especially after Team Liquid lost today again to Disguised, it's looking like harder and harder for them to keep it together. And like you guys discussed earlier, everyone on the team has just everyone is kind of looking bad. It's not like 1 or 2 players. It's like everyone's looking bad, and then LYON, the one that potentially is doing the best, has bad stats. So it's like it's scary.
Well, I gotta say, good news for Team Liquid. Top 3 of each group make it into playoffs. Now, first seed, okay, maybe this is dangerous for me to say. I believe first seed goes into upper bracket, and then there's a lower bracket for the lower seeded teams. But they only have to do better than Disguised, even if they don't beat LYON. So that's something.
Appreciate the copium. Thank you.
Okay, so look, LYON had a pretty rough weekend. So, and I'm not saying that Team Liquid's was great, but what makes you worried for Team Liquid because of LYON?
Because I think, especially I'm more of like recency bias scared here, seeing their loss to Disguised kind of makes me think that it's just getting worse. Because I don't think outside of like Umpty's performance on Nefiri specifically, I feel like Team Liquid hasn't been getting better as the split goes on. I feel like they're either stagnating or getting worse. And I was an APA like super fan supporter when he was first there, and everyone was like going for his head, and then they ended up winning the split, and I felt very validated about that. And now I'm like, I don't know. Everyone's not looking. No one's like, this is the worst I've seen Impact in forever since he was on that FlyQuest team that imploded. Like, it's just tough seeing all these players that I was super happy to see on Team Liquid. They just can't seem to get it together. It's like they figured out how to lane swap and forgot how to play every other style.
So this is more just like a Team Liquid sucks.
Well, no. So like, I guess my point is, I know Lions hasn't been looking good, but yeah, the take was Lion still has the ability to, I think, beat Team Liquid. Like, that was part of my take, is I think Lion has the best chance of making it past into the top 4, like once they go deep into the playoffs, because they were kind of against Liquid. So they might be able to place into a higher position above them and then make it into a better spot once the top 6 are figured out. And I do think Lion has been showing, like, their schedule was very tough, right? So I think they're showing some good signs.
Okay, I'll hop in and just say, Lion, we were very excited when they proved they were top of the bottom. They beat all the other 3 teams that were in the bottom 4 to start off the schedule. Then they had the top 4 teams for the remainder of the schedule. Did not pick up a win versus a single one of them. Did they look good in some of those games? And like they should have been able to win? Yes. But that's going to be the next hurdle for them, is can they improve? Because as it is, pure strength right now, I'm taking TL every time. I think TL should be favored over Lion. But the question is, will TL continue to slump? And will Lion improve as a team with multiple different languages natively spoken? I hear that communication is not an issue, though, that they do all speak English fluently and are able to communicate, outside of potentially Henna. But again, Saint there to kind of help out with that. So if Lion can improve, they can overtake TL. But I will assuage your concerns right now and say that's not the immediate reality.
I like Zhao's take over on YouTube. They wrote, "Good news, they just have to do better than Disguised. Bad news, they just lost to Disguised."
You know what? They did just lose to Disguised.
See, that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, Fearless, maybe they'll do better. I think the bottom 4 teams are going to have a tough time in Fearless, especially if they couldn't get like any win in best of 1, except for Disguised against the top 4. But I don't know. It's just been tough.
Yeah. Okay. Since we're making this the Team Liquid call, presumably,
it can be both. I mean, I feel like it's worth talking
yeah,
about
it could be both, but I do feel like there's more to talk about with Team Liquid than there is maybe with Lion after today.
I don't know. I mean, in a way, like, we did have a lot of excitement on the last show about Lion like being the best of the bottom, or like the most likely to beat top 4.
But wasn't our take they need to take in order for them to prove that they're interesting, they need to beat one of the teams this weekend?
Yeah, that was my take on it, which
kind of
I was trying to take credit for it as well, but if you really want to close me off from that,
yeah. I mean, we definitely agreed on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Travis. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a blast.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. End of the month. I can't wait. I feel like the Lion team, I'm really hopeful for Saint and Henna, who have been playing well. But it really feels like the caller's evidence is for TL just not being the actual 4th team. Like, what positives do you have for Lion? Like, what has you excited about this team? Like, is it just that TL isn't good enough, or like what's gonna have them beat TL and then maybe other teams that we have in the league as we go through the rest of this format?
I think that like their bot lane has a good chance of, I think Henna and Lions have been playing kind of well together. I know you just mentioned Henna being a highlight. I would agree. I think that they've been looking like they have a lot of like promising glimpses, and I think if they can figure out how to like make it through the mid game and like get out of the early game, they can actually potentially pop off. Because I feel like a lot of times it seems like once they're down, they can't figure out how to like stay back or like come back in. And I think if they can get over that hurdle, I think they actually show a lot of potential.
I have a theory, and this is a very tiny sample size, so who knows if it's true or not. Anybody who watched LCK Challengers could probably correct me. I'm not convinced by Saint's consistency on his Azir, especially the laning phase on Azir. He has like impactful plays later in the game, but his laning phase on Azir has not convinced me, and I think that's a legitimate crutch for LYON. Azir is very popular in this meta. The rise into Azir matchup can be very tough because when it comes time to group with the team fights, you just get outranged, and we've seen Rises like really struggle in team fights unless they're able to get to their big item power spikes. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a weakness of LYON going into the fearless best of 3 stages, because champ pool will become more apparent at that point.
I
Yeah,
I
could
think
be.
I'm
I don't know if
actually
you have other
more
thoughts.
concerned for Adi and
Sure.
Licorice, because for me, Adi was actually playing quite well until this weekend. So I'm wondering if it was just, hey, 3 bad games, or if that's actually more so how they look against better teams. And then again, Licorice, I still think that Licorice is really good at doing his job later on in the games, but for me, hasn't been as consistent in the lane phase really since he came back from the break, where I feel like mechanically he's just straight up not as good as he used to be, which is disappointing because for me, when Licorice was at his best, he was legitimately a top 3 top laner in the league. So yeah.
Sure. I
That
think
was
there's
what
a
I was
lot
most
of.
excited for. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What was
No,
that?
no, you go. Call
I
our
was,
show.
I was gonna say like Licorice was the reason I was like so excited originally for this team. Was I was a huge Licorice fan back in the day, and it's been like kind of sad to see that he's not like in his prime. But I mean that's what happens when you take a break or whatever. But I really hope that if Licorice can step up and go through the laning phase, I also think that could be helpful for their bot lane and maybe give Adi like another outlet to play around.
I will say the biggest positive for me is that Lions looks much better this split, the support.
Yes.
He was really bad in split 1. I know that he was remote, but he's like not dead weight anymore. He's actually contributing to wins, which for me was great because I really felt like split 1 he was struggling. So that's a really good sign if you are a Lion fan.
Yeah. For TL, I don't know how much of this is true. I haven't talked with anybody at the team yet, but I've again hearing just rumors and stuff of trying out different players. I'm just wondering what the vibes are at the team. I put a lot of stock as a believer. Good vibes on a team. If the roster gets along, if they have fun playing together, it's going to translate to stage games. When the pressure is high, a team that gets along is going to perform better than a team that doesn't. Now, you can disagree with that. That's fine, but that's just my own mentality. And I question the vibes at TL. I know that's like a super not analytical answer there.
Well,
but
I think it's fair to your point, King. Is like I can't imagine, like something has to change. Like, and I don't think that it feels like it's going to be, an inspirational speech from Spawn. Like, at this point in time, I feel like they need to start playing a 6th player and just sort of see what that can do for the team, because like they need to mix something up, and I don't know where, but at this point in time I'd start spinning the wheel on the slot machine to see what we can come up with, because I don't know what's going on over there, but it's not good.
It's
It almost
something
feels like
that's oh, you go.
It almost feels like every time they think that they know which one they want to replace, that player then like has a really good performance. Because I think correct me if I'm wrong, Spawn just got done saying that they were trying out mid and jungle, and now they're just trying out jungle. I think I saw this in an interview, or someone at Team Liquid said that, and now Umpty just had like the best performance of the weekend. So it's like maybe now do they go back to trying out mid? So I feel like the consistency is just so not there that it's probably hard for even like management to figure out what to do at this point.
Yeah, and I will say this is something that Spawn said. I believe he said it on broadcast, or maybe it was a Team Liquid video, but I know he said it like on some kind of video that I watched, that when he was live last year, when he wasn't coaching remote, there was essentially like a bad guy in the room that the team could like unite against and direct their frustrations and anger towards. And Spawn is the perfect guy to be that host, or that coach rather. He's that hard ass, like straight, no nonsense. He can take the heat and he can take the responsibility if things don't go well. But when he's not there, the team starts to do that to each other, and there's no barrier between their like opinions and communication with each other necessarily. There's not that unifying thing to unite against. So it's like, what is it? The comic book, The Watchmen. The only way for humanity to survive is to unite against an alien invasion. Or
Spoilers.
a bomb if you watch the movies, but the comics were better.
This man's out here
True.
just dropping spoilers, you know.
True. Actually, it wasn't even a bomb. It was freaking whatever the blue guy was. I think that was the movie one.
Mr. Manhattan.
There we go. Yep.
Mhm.
That's
He
the real
just
spoiler.
continues
Wow.
with the spoilers. I say spoilers, and then he's like, "Oh wait, let me correct my spoilers so that they're more spoilerific."
I had it
Watchmen
out. I
Trade.
didn't take it.
Watchmen Trade, one of the best comics of all time.
Oh yeah.
All right, listen, nerds. Let's talk about League of Legends, a real man's game. So let's for me, let's see. If I'm curious what you two would do if you were the Dodo, the GM of Team Liquid. I think for me, what I would do is I would pick a player at random. Maybe not at random, but like I'd find one where I'm like, okay,
Spin the wheel.
this player needs like a bit of a break, and we feel like we have a decent backup option for them. And then I would run for just a best of 3, or maybe, because I guess they're only playing once a week now, right? Just for one weekend, a different player in that spot, and I'd scrim with that player a ton. And then I would see how things feel, because I do feel like sometimes that's all you need is a bit of like a little bit of a mental reset for the team, dynamic change, et cetera, to get them out of the funk. Because whenever you're kind of in this like repetitive motion where you keep struggling and like things feel you start to backslide, and you need something that's going to reset. And I do agree that it feels like it's like there's no obvious answer. You know, I'm sure a lot of listeners are like, I think Umti should go, or Impact is too old, or something. But like, that's what you all sound like, listeners. But I do think that at a certain point in time, it's almost like it doesn't really matter who in the long term. I think just making some sort of change to reset the dynamics would probably be healthy in the long term.
Isn't that what Harry, like APA was for Harry? Like he basically did that for Team Liquid back then. They just have to do it again now with someone else.
Well, I had to be careful. I know that like Spawn in the past, definitely. I mean, he was a developmental coach for a while, right, on that team, and he did a great job of actually building up players to be ready to step into the shoes of that. And it was definitely part of the system that TL had over there. Keep in mind the fact that obviously both AP and Yeon came from his team in Academy, and that was a big part of why TL were able to pull off this roster. I think that the only pushback I'll have for you, Travis, is like you got to have the right team that's ready for that, because it can add a lot of pressure to players knowing that they are playing for their spots. I think that the choice and the argument here for TL is if in a world where they're doing that for stage games, and keep in mind, I think it's been reported they've been doing that for scrims with trying out some players, but you're doing this for stage games. Like, is this a healthy pressure for the players that you have right now in the building, where regardless of what decision you make, you're going to be able to perform at the highest level afterwards? And also keep in mind that like this happened, what you're describing is a similar scenario that happened to a player like Spyrax, where he got one game and then that was it. Also, as
there's like a fall guy,
out,
Cubby. Okay, we're not worried about that person. They're just there to reset the team. You know, they were sacrificed.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like that's just the bad guy Spawn coming in. What Steve did, or at least pitched. I think the only other context that I'll add to this is that I know that the schedule is really weird this year, but this is about the halfway point for your year, and I know that from talking with a couple teams behind the scenes, it feels like this is the last chance to make changes if they're going to make them, if they actually want to be able to compete for stuff like MSI, like Worlds, or I mean, I'm sure in DSG's shoes too, this is the halfway point for them in the LTA split to decide what they're going to do with the impending relegation tournament that they will have to play no matter what their result is in split 3. So definitely something that like teams have to consider. Personally, I think that because of some shenanigans that happened with a certain NACL org that I will not name on this show, there are some very good players that are available that I feel like teams could grab. And there are also a couple NACL teams where I think you can snag some decent players from there. There is like
you would just sign near
All-Star?
airport.
That's crazy.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, there is a discussion to be made about whether or not, like, if you're a team like DSG, I mean, like, let's say they want to ask Insanity to play for them. Does Insanity think it's more likely that they can relegate DSG, or like, does he want to play for them and face the rest of his team in the like upcoming promotion tournament if Luminosity Gaming do qualify? And keep in mind that's a team of 5x LCS players, so that's actually like a battle that at least that team has to fight, and a battle that like even the players have to choose. Like, they wanted the 6-man. I'm just gonna pick on Insanity and use his name. Like, does Insanity want to be a 6-man for TL, or like play for an LTA spot? You know, that's just given the ecosystem being different this split, that is a real discussion that is going on with teams. And I know, like, for a fact, some players from those top teams are not even going to consider offers to go LTA, because at least in NACL they feel like they can relegate DSG right now. So definitely an interesting context to like what's going on here.
I think that is silly. I'm going to be honest right now. If a player has that mentality and you're turning down full-time employment for a team that's already in, you know what? We can talk about it. I'm happy to have a conversation with that player. I think that's silly. Given the landscape, given what are you making right now playing in Tier 2 versus what you'd be making if you even were a sub for a Tier 1 team? Splitting stage time, take that. It's so shaky right now. Take the opportunity.
Tariffs tanking the market, you know, Nvidia going down. It's like just get the bag while you can, you know.
Don't remind me of my portfolio.
That's why I think it's silly to say no. If you honestly have players talk with you about that, I would have thoughts.
No, but if you win the spot, then you guarantee it for themselves. And, like,
and are they going to be making as much if they're in disguise position than if they were?
They will be if they win
for Team Liquid.
I don't know. That I guess
I don't think they will.
I get that. That is technically different, but still, like, if you win the spot, I mean, in theory, you secure a starting spot. I'm not sure what the roster lock rules would be. I'm sure they're gonna have like a 3 out of 5 rule potentially. But yeah, we'll see.
Thank you so much for calling in, Big Angry Hobo. I don't know if this makes you feel better or worse for Team Liquid's chances going forward, but
it's kind of get out
for.
Do we raise your spirits?
Yeah.
My spirits are never fully dead. I've been a curse and Team Liquid let me down plenty of times before they.
Oh yeah.
2018. So.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Is there any way I can convince you to become a CLG fan when we eventually bring back the org? I can give you wristbands and hats. I have a bunch in a box back there.
CLG, I was the most bipolar on of any team ever. I loved them, and then I hated them for a while, and then I really liked them, and then they were gone. So sure.
Okay.
I do wonder who, like, if NRG wanted to give the CLG brand to somebody, I feel like it would have to be Hotshot. I just don't know who else would be able to resurrect it. I guess maybe Greg.
I think Hotshot would be great, but Travis, I'm a little offended that you don't think I could do it. What the hell, man? I'll get an OQ team going. Let's go.
I don't know if you have like claim in the same way that like a Hotshot or a Greg Kim does, you know?
0%. Yes, I would happily give it to Hotshot. Even Kobe, if he wants to do it, anybody involved. But the problem is, I'm not seeing that fire from those folks to get it back.
Anyway, Big Angry Hobo, what would you like to shout out here at the end?
Well, as always, shout out to PrizePicks and NZXT. Thank them for sponsoring this show. One of my favorite things to watch every week. Shout out to Travis, Cubby, and you, Kangas, as well. Appreciate everything you guys do in the here. And then shout out to Conduit Esports, my little esports org that I cast games for and play in sometimes.
Thanks so much for the call.
Do they have a Twitch? Can I follow the Twitch channel? What's it called?
Twitch.tv/conduit_esports. We just have a bunch of like platinum and emerald teams, and I cast them a lot of times.
Let's go. All right, I'm following.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for the call. And again, thank you always for the support on stream, because it's true that you are one of the more active supporters and also one of the more active chatters. So I always really appreciate it.
Shout out Big Angry Hobo. Thanks for the call, man.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
All right, we've got one final caller, but before we get to them, speaking of PrizePicks, we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to air this lovely little video creation that we have explaining how PrizePicks works, because they're a fantastic sponsor. Best place to win cash while watching your favorite esports or sports. So I'm going to show you right now how this works on the app. It's super easy to use. So maybe I like Jojo Pyun at more than 9.5 deaths over the first 3 games of his series. And maybe I believe Mickey X is going to get less than 31 assists. I'll go ahead and hit finalize lineup, where it'll show me that if both these things end up coming true and I play an entry fee of, let's say, $20, I'm going to end up winning $60. PrizePicks is available in over 40 states, including California and Texas. And if you sign up, use that link below. It's a big thing that you can do to help me. You can use code Travis whenever you make your first lineup of $5 or more. Win or lose, they're going to give you $50. Now, please only choose to play PrizePicks if you can do so responsibly, but doing so and signing up does help my channel very much. And you can actually join the discussion with other TGI viewers in my Discord. We have a PrizePicks channel. If you're trying to get into it, that's a great place to start. So thanks so much to PrizePicks for sponsoring this piece of content. Yes, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring Hotline League. They are a fantastic partner. Please, if you do decide to sign up for their service, use the link that is in the chat right now. I'm putting it in both. Or if you're watching over on YouTube or listening to the podcast, you can find the link over in the YouTube description. It's just it's kind of a longer, complicated one, so please click the link. But if you truly are like, Travis, I don't even care about that, I'm not going to click the link, I hate you, I want to do everything I can to bring you to the ground, just do me a favor and use my name. You can use code Travis when you sign up. It'll help you get a cool little offer that they have going on there. And using that code, using that link, those are both ways to really help make sure that they know that we sent you. So thank you so much to PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. All right, Cubby's off to grab the last caller of the evening. Thank you to Jam John over on YouTube for becoming a member. Who says excited for best of 3. Happy we got both formats. I agree with that. I like that we have a little bit of both. Misha, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it. And then K-Pop or Die, first Twitch sub in the last hour, and a former photographer of mine from way back in the day, who I believe now just does real estate. And it's got to be a good time for real estate, I think. So thank you so much, K-Pop or Die, for gifting the sub. Trespasser is here. Trespasser, where are you calling from?
Hey, Travis. I'm calling from Downey, California.
Downey, California. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is that I think C9 versus FlyQuest should be the new El Clasico of the LTA North. Based on the standings of them for the past few years being on top of the league, their ownership, Jack and Papa Smithy, being very active in the scene, both fan bases being pretty large. As someone who's been to a few games, I've seen a lot of like jerseys of C9 and FlyQuest fans. And they are the only teams who stream their scrims so far, and the views on that didn't go too bad. So, yeah.
Why C9 over TL for a FlyQuest rival?
I think you could put Team Liquid in that FlyQuest spot as well. But personally, I'm more invested in the C9 versus FlyQuest games as like someone who watches like a Basil Leaf. Like I think like I like watching them like be like, it's like sucky when C9 lose to FlyQuest or other way around. So yeah.
All right, Kangas or Cubby, what do you think?
So I don't think that you can call this the El Clasico, just given that TL FlyQuest was the matchup for the last 2 finals, and have been the teams that have been repping us the best internationally in a while. I could see this, though, quickly being this year's El Clasico, given that I think that C9 and FlyQuest are clearly the top 2 teams. And the history of C9, I feel like just because they have been the org that has had the most international success overall from LCS and that history, fans really are hoping, especially with some of the similar names, that they are able to reclaim that. I think that's a fun storyline for this split to see if Sven Volken back in the house with Blabber and like these 2 imports can actually win. And they're playing really well so far. But like for me, this is the matchup that I'm looking forward to at the moment. But I think that it should be the matchup for this split.
Yeah, I think it's a recency bias
But,
thing, 100%.
yeah.
I do not think we can legitimately call it El Clasico because to me that means like history, a classic, right? It is the marquee matchup of this year, of this split at least. Like just split 2, but I don't think it's up there with the classics. I think I just looked back at FlyQuest's like finals history or just like tournament results on Leaguepedia. They've only played C9 in a single finals. And that was 2020 spring, which they got 3-0'd. That was like the crazy
Yeah.
C9 split.
That was the crazy
They don't
FlyQuest
have the
split,
history
too.
between the orgs
fun.
to be like a classic yet.
Well-
They could build that.
I mean, FlyQuest started pretty much with high, right? So like you can go back with like the old C9 team and the fact that that spot was technically earned by those guys who were the OG C9 squad, right? But I think that in order for this to be like the Clasico, you'd have to give like, as Kangas is pointing to, more history between these 2 points or these 2 teams. Sorry, to make that point. For me, I think that let's say TL has a resurgence. I would say that the quicker one to be the El Clasico would actually be TL C9, given the history there.
Yeah.
And it feels like TL have been like once TL started winning, that's where for me C9 started winning a little bit less and repping like LCS like less. Once TL like went on that 4-peat streak, like that is a moment that C9 has not been able to like reach or beat, which to be fair, I mean, it's really hard to beat, but C9, like, I believe is the winningest team. We're up there in the history for LCS, right? I feel like TL is the one that is closest to matching that. So I feel like if there's any El Clasico, it would hopefully be those 2 teams in good form. So I'd even argue like with the form of TL not being what it wants to be right now, given the history, that matchup would be closer to being an El Clasico than this one.
Yeah, but if you are a fan of either team and you want to claim the other team as your rival right now and you get excited over those matches, hell yeah. I agree fully because I think there is reason to get excited and love seeing C9 versus FlyQuest in the modern era. But I don't fully agree with, again, calling it a classic.
I mean,
So
this
I want to
is the
meet you
best
halfway
matchup.
and be like, I don't want to discourage you because I think it is a sick matchup, but it's not at that tier in my mind.
This
So
is the
we'll-
matchup that we want to see like right now in this league for sure.
Yeah.
I think that it's like been pretty determined that these are the 2 teams that are playing the best.
So would you guys say that Team Liquid versus Cloud9 is more of a El Clasico than FlyQuest?
I'd say
I
would say like the Team Liquid Cloud9 stuff was the classic matchup until this like FlyQuest TL thing started to emerge. Like I just I feel like FlyQuest is having or TL's having like a bit of a speed bump, but you know we've only just assumed the position in LTA split 2, and so we like I think there's some worry for Team Liquid fans, but like there's I would not be surprised if finals somehow end up being FlyQuest Team Liquid again. You know, if Team Liquid can get their shit together, they've got the better track record in recent years than C9 to suggest that they can be there. So I don't know. I think everything that I've seen for a while, it's funny that you called in with this take because for the last, a couple months or so, I've been thinking, especially with all the first stand stuff, like the Team Liquid FlyQuest stuff is like the new rivalry of the LTA, at least as I feel has emerged. So it's hard to feel like it's C9 and TL.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a C9 fan coping that we haven't been, in the finals for the past year. So
Hey,
No,
again,
how you
I
feeling
love
this
the
split
take.
though? How you feeling
but-
this split as a C9 fan?
True. Feeling pretty good, I imagine.
yeah, pretty good. Loki's looking really good since his Rise game. I'm happy about that.
Yep.
Cool.
But I also will say, for me, I see Twitch agreeing with you, caller. By the way, a lot of people are saying no, don't listen to them. It is the new El Clasico. To me,
Yeah, that count
new
is
El
it's called
Clasico.
Cloud9. That's from a Cloud9 account.
Oh, it is. Oh, I didn't.
No,
even
I'm
know
just
that.
kidding.
That's
I'm
very
just kidding.
funny. It depends on what you mean by like new and how much you've put into that. For me, it's got to have some level of like rivalry and gripe. C9 hasn't been eliminated from like Worlds or MSI by FlyQuest in recent years, right? Like it's always like 100 Thieves or like some other team.
No,
that's
it's
knocked them out.
APA. APA was gatekeeping JoJo, yeah.
Yeah, well, on EG and then on C9, yeah. So I feel like there isn't that bite level from C9 versus FlyQuest to make it a classic. It's just the two best teams right now, which is why you might want to say it's a classic. But the richer narrative, I don't see necessarily being there. But again, still a hype matchup. Still love to see it. Best game of the split by far of the year in LTA, I think, was FlyQuest C9.
Trespasser, I know that we kind of disagreed with you on the El Clasico thing, but any final thoughts before I give you your shout out here at the end?
I think my original take was C9 versus TL, but I was like looking at the head-to-head games. I think FlyQuest have more games versus C9. That's why I was like, maybe that was like my reason for changing.
Okay.
But, yeah,
it's definitely those three teams with like 100 Thieves tagging along behind that I think are really like the most interesting brand matchups and rivalries and everything within the league. So
yeah, I
think it's fair. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah. Shout out to you, Travis, for signing my Magic card at the LTA event. That was pretty cool. Shout out to LPL English that Cubby is putting that grind on. It's pretty good product.
Go follow them on all their channels.
Yeah. And also, I found out this out today. This is crazy. Shout out to Cloud9 Porty. He did a lot, or he's leaving Cloud9. Yeah, he's leaving Cloud9, and he did a lot to make like Cloud9. This is like what I love today. It's like he did a lot for that, for them. So shout out to Cloud9 Portillo. He will be missed. He sounds like he's dead, but yeah, thanks.
Rest in peace, Cloud9 Portillo. We hardly knew ye. Trespasser, thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. GG, guys. Have fun. Bye.
All right. Portillo in the chat. Yeah, his death is definitely the biggest death of today, I think, in the news. All right.
Not Busio?
No. It was
they have a whole new player. They hired Tusio, yeah.
It was a world events reference. Don't worry.
I understand, but the Pope's not as important as Busio in my mind.
Oh, okay. All right.
Pope just couldn't handle Easter and 420 being on the same day, That's too much.
Gubby, what do you want to shout out here at the end?
Shout out to everyone that tunes in the Hotline League. And yeah, I don't have many shout outs. I'm going to be co-streaming a lot this upcoming week because I have NACL and CLOL. So if you want to do that, tune into my stream, CubbyXX. I haven't been doing VOD reviews of LTA North. I've been busy with that. And I will hopefully resume those with best of threes. Frankly, the best of ones were kind of boring for me too. So I'm hoping that we get back into some best of threes, which should be fun.
Kangas, how about you?
First and foremost, shout out Cubby's girlfriend who's in chat saying Cubby never shouts her out. Second of all, shout out to all the card game enjoyers out there. If you like Yu-Gi-Oh content, go check out my new channel. It's called Steven and Steven. We have 3 videos up now with 2 shorts. We're growing. We're getting there. And then also shout out. Sorry, what?
Do shorts not count? Or is it 5 videos or is it 3 videos?
I guess it would be 5 videos. For some in my brain, my boomer brain, I don't think of like a short as a full YouTube video, but those do have like 90% of our views total. So
we swap Yu-Gi-Oh decks, then we deal.
Hell yeah. And also shout out to Ludwig for hopping on the broadcast. It was awesome having him. He did like a really cool Fiddlesticks clear. He shouted out Perry on broadcast, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And shout out to Toast, who we would love to have on broadcast at some point.
How do I get you to change your color profile on your cameras?
Tell us that it's bad. I don't know. I don't do that setting.
But no,
dude, I legitimately do blend into the wall, right? Like
yeah,
I'm
it's a little flat, I would say. I mean, but I like the setup. You guys have 3 cameras for this? Do you have 4?
So the current videos we have technically 5,
4,
but we changed to a 3-camera setup after the fact.
This is fancy. I'm looking at the Steven and Steven YouTube video channel right now. Everybody go check it out.
All right, we're going to use that as a quote. Travis Gafford says, "This is fancy." There we go.
Is this
That's our
you need to either grade your footage or use a different color profile. But after that, then it will be ready to go. Then I'm
Appreciate
ready.
It.
Is it Steven and
Steven
No,
and
Steven
Steven. Just
and like both
one
with
word.
V's.
Yep.
Everybody go check it out. I hope you know that while I'm teasing you about the channel, this is also like this is great promotion because we're talking about your
Subs.
channel so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Everyone go. Here's what I want everyone to do.
Decent
Everyone
thumbnails.
go look at the most recent Steven and Steven video about we swap Yu-Gi-Oh decks and we duel. Let me know what you think about the color grading on it and the picture
Oh,
profile.
it
Actually,
is not
comment
good.
on the video
And
what you think of
comment
the color grading.
in the comments. Be like your opinion of the color grading on the video.
Uh-huh.
You don't even need to like. Don't talk about the what's happening in their game or like about the conversation or witty banter between these two Stevens. Just comment exclusively about the color grading.
Yep.
Cannot wait to bring my sunglasses in from my car.
Rody
That's what
to
you're
watch the next
commenting?
to
Travis
watch the
is
next video.
no! You could have been more polite about it, Cubby, but you know what? I guess that's content right there. I'll go.
Rody,
I
Rody
bully
in
my
chat
friends.
says
You might
Travis
be
is
able
right.
to
This
see in
footage
chat,
is just
and now you can
log.
hear.
It's just log. You're just using raw. You need a color profile.
That's what I'm saying.
I assume Steven did this, and you need to tell Steven.
I don't want to like not take the blame because I also am not taking the responsibility of making sure that it's good. But this was the other Steven that put that together.
Now I feel bad.
It's a joint effort to put these videos together.
I don't feel
so I'm not
bad.
gonna just...
Steven, I'm trying to help you save your YouTube channel. You know, I'm always about trying to save the NALCS and NA League of Legends. I'm trying to save Steven and Steven now. That's my next project. So
my comment
perfect.
was derogatory towards Kangas and not towards the other Steven, you know.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
And that's like a tagline that we always have at the beginning of the video is tell us which Steven you're rooting for. Trust us, we'll know who you're talking about. So you can just say Steven sucks, and I'll know it's for me. It'll be fun.
right. Well, I've shared the YouTube channel or the YouTube video in multiple places, so hopefully they will.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Share their opinion on the color grading. You should message Steven right now, otherwise he's going to panic as the comments start coming in. Okay.
True.
For me, thanks everyone. I know I wasn't at LTA this past weekend. I was playing hooky, but I will be back this weekend at the LTA for coverage. So thanks everybody for that. Thanks everybody who came up to me and said hi in Santa Clara. That was really cool. I'm glad some folks came out. Thanks again to Dylan for the Jeweled Lotus. We'll find out in like 12 hours if it's getting unbanned.
Ooh.
And for everyone else, we'll catch you next week on Hotline League as we exit the position phase and we get into the circle group phase. Bye.